Hello gentlemen, this is Showman with Oil and Gas Field Quality Control. Today is a subject of knowledge. We know about the carbon equivalent. We are inspector, even work for very few years. We always heard about this subject, carbon equivalent. What is carbon equivalent? What is the effect? Means why we need to know the effect of carbon equivalent on weldability or during welding. If it is less, what happened? If it is more, what happens? What is our concerns as a welding inspector or supervisor or manager to take care? Let us chit chat a bit. What is carbon equivalent? Understanding the carbon equivalent. The weldability of steels is influenced primarily by carbon content. At higher carbon levels, steel may need either pre or post weld heat treatment in order to prevent stress buildup and weld cracking. Generally speaking, if the carbon equivalent is 0.35 or below, no pre or post heat treatment or weld thermal treatment is required. In our experience with maintenance welding, we have found that preheat was beneficial between 0.35 to 0.55 carbon equivalent. Above 0.55 carbon equivalent, we usually both pre and post weld heat treatment, we are doing it to relieve the stresses and prevent cracking. So carbon equivalent for welding 0.35 maximum is a boon or gift for us. No need to worry about weld cracking or something because of hardened steel. It is percentage of carbon, of course, because it is carbon equivalent, and other materials, let's say percentage of manganese divided by 6 plus chromium, molybdenum and vanadium, the percentage together divided by 5, percentage of silicon, nickel and copper divided by 15. This formula one should learn when we are talking about carbon steel, its alloys and their weldability. In the formula we can see 6 points of manganese are approximately equal to 1 point of carbon. 5 points of chrome, moly and vanadium are roughly equal to a point of carbon, which it takes about 5 points to chrome, moly and vanadium are roughly equal to a point of carbon, while it takes about 15 points of silicon, nickel and copper to get about the same effect as 1 point of carbon. As long as carbon equivalent is not more than 0.35, you probably won't need to do the preheat and post-weld heat treatment or stress relieve your weld. Above 0.35 CE, you may need either or both depending on the section thickness and carbon equivalent. So not only carbon equivalent, if we want to decide pre or post welding heat treatment required or not, thickness is a very important point to be considered. Carbon equivalent is a crucial metric used to assess the weldability of steel. It provides simplified measures of how alloying elements, particularly carbon and other hardening elements, affect the steel's tendency to harden during welding. Higher carbon equivalent values generally indicate a greater propensity for hardening, which can lead to potential issues like cracking or distortion. Common carbon equivalent formulas, two primary carbon equivalent formulas are recognized. One is American Welding Society formula, which I just discussed, includes silicon as a hardening element. International Institute of Welding has a formula also where there is no silicon is being considered during carbon equivalent calculations. What is weldability? Weldability can just be simply defined as the ability to join material through welding. But actually weldability is more complex term. It also refers to the material suitability for a specific application and its performance under the intended service conditions. A weldable material can be successfully fabricated using welding techniques and will function adequately in its intended environment. Now, carbon equivalent and preheat. Let us see the connections. Lower carbon equivalent values generally correlate with better weldability due to reduced hardening tendencies. Preheat and high carbon equivalent. For steels with high carbon equivalent values, preheating is often necessary to prevent excessive hardening and potential cracking. Preheat helps to control the cooling rate and reduce the risk of rapid cooling induced hardening. So if we cool rapidly, the material will have a tendency of hardening. So we need to preheat the material before welding so that it will cool slowly and the chance of hardening will be reduced. Carbon equivalent ranges and preheat recommendation. Here is a table I am showing you which provides a general guideline for carbon equivalent ranges and corresponding preheat recommendations. You can see from the table the formula from AWS which we have just discussed, and then the formula also from International Institute of Welding. The only difference here is you see they are not considering silicon in the second one. Manganese plus silicon divided by 6. The IIW formula is telling you manganese by 6 only. So they are not considering silicon in their formula. I told you that less than 0.35 carbon equivalent range, it has excellent weldability, generally preheat not required. 0.35 to 0.45 is a good weldability. Consider preheat for thicker sections or welded parts to be used for critical applications. 0.45 to 0.55 is fair. Preheat recommended for most applications. Greater than 0.55 carbon equivalent, we have poor weldability. Significant preheat and alternative welding processes may be necessary. Understanding carbon equivalent and weldability. Carbon equivalent is essential predictor of steel hardenability, weldability, and hydrogen induced cracking. So we are going little bit deeper to understand the direct connection between the carbon equivalent and weldability. However, welders do not have a basic understanding of the working of carbon equivalent predictability of steel properties, whereas few of them has a hazy idea, rough idea. I mean, the majority of them not heard of carbon equivalent before. It is no wonder most welders turn away most job involving low alloy steel under the pretext of the fact that those steels are difficult to weld. They will tell you, welders, and claim from the experience that those metals are hard and can easily crack during or after welding. When repairing a natural gas or oil pipeline, you need to ensure that a new weld is absolutely solid. On a basic level, the integrity of the weld relies on the two pieces of pipe being completely compatible. If the two pieces of pipe behave differently or become brittle during the welding process, the weld will definitely fail, right? With potentially disastrous consequences. So, you need to ensure you are using the right grade of steel. By relying on grade alone is risky, because even within a grade, the exact composition can vary enough to cause problems with the weld integrity. This means you will have to measure the exact composition of each piece individually to fully understand how the component will behave. This is where carbon equivalent concepts comes in. This allows you to take detailed material composition and turn that information into something useful that you can use to evaluate the weldability of the material. Carbon equivalent is the key to predicting steel behavior. The equivalent carbon content concepts is used on ferrous materials only, because we are talking about carbon. So this is in the ferrous material, carbon is present, typically steel or cast iron, to determine various properties of the alloy when more than just carbon is used as alloying elements. It is well understood that carbon levels within the iron or steel affect their strength and brittleness and how the material can be worked and welded. However, carbon is not only the alloying element, and other elements also contribute to material properties. Percentage of carbon, of course, it will be affecting the strength and brittleness of the material, we know that. But other materials, how they affect, this is our questions or discussions here. Considering the impact that each element and how it interacts with all other individually, would be difficult. So instead of carbon equivalent concept is used where the alloying elements put through a formula that converts them into an equivalent carbon percentage. Carbon equivalent. The idea is to convert the percentage of alloying elements other than the carbon to the equivalent carbon percentage. Because of the iron carbon phases are better understood than other iron alloy phases, the single number is then used to evaluate behavior such as weldability, as we have discussed with the help of many tables. You can see the table that larger carbon equivalent, poorer weldability. So how do we arrive to this number? That's what the carbon equivalent equations comes in. Out of these 5 equations, we need to use one of that closely matches the type of your steel. So it does not matter that which one is right or wrong. It is actually based on your steel. Let's say International Institute of Welding, I told you they are not taking silicons in their consideration. So you can see percentage of carbon, then manganese by 6, chromium, molybdenum, vanadium by 5, copper plus nickel 15. Stop this slide to check the other formula. You can take a screenshot for this if you need to have an idea what and the whole world thinks about carbon equivalent and their formulas. So you need to adopt what is appropriate for your steel, and you just put the percentage of value you get from your MTC, and then you can recheck that the carbon equivalent calculation done by the manufacturer of the steel or pipe is correct. Why? There are several equations. So this is a question I told you, means different countries, they derive their own formula. Over time, new equations were created to improve the accuracy of different types of steel, such as low carbon, as they were extended to estimate the hydrogen cracking susceptibility of steel. Which one should we use? The first equation adopted by IIW is the most common. Both you are analyzing low carbon steel, the PCM and CEM expressions are also more suitable. The second PCM equation is used for modern steels used in pipeline manufacture, where the carbon content is typically less than 0.11%. What we actually need to measure in my pipe? To accurately determine the weldability of the pipeline, you will need to measure the elements within the PCM equation: carbon, silicon, chromium, copper, nickel, molybdenum, vanadium and boron. You might also need to measure the phosphorus and sulfur to give a more comprehensive analysis, and nitrogen will need to be measured if you need to identify duplex steels. So what we learned from here: if we are a welding inspector or a mechanical inspector in pipeline or piping construction, we will always prefer a steel, though it is not in our decision. Actually, it is decided by the designer. But what we will think, we will first check the carbon equivalent. If it is less than 0.35, then no need to worry about the preheat or post-weld retreatment. This is very excellently weldable material, very rare chance of crack or something. But if it is 0.35 up to 0.55, maybe preheat can be done, and based on the thickness, if the thickness is more than 1 inch, or for the pipeline it is 32 mm, we will have to also go for post-weld retreatment. It will also be recommended by the designer. And if it is over, carbon equivalent is over 0.55, then without any question, preheat and post-weld need to be considered. Of course, thickness is also another point of consideration to decide the post-weld retreatment. Thank you for today, and hope you learned something. If you like the way of my teaching, please share and subscribe my channel, and don't forget to hit the like button to inspire me more. Signing off for today, Showman.